To start though, I want to hear about Bethany. So
Okay.
let's just start with you
Yeah.
and your career and like how did you get to where you got to? And start with like I think it's you joined the Navy
Yep.
first
Yep.
out of high school, college.
A year of college. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's
I don't
start.
know if that technically counts because I don't think my grades amounted to anything for a while. But yeah, we'll do the timeline. And then I think it's helpful for people to hear like, I have moved jobs. Like, it's very taboo in this industry. You look at my resume, I get beat up, and you beat me up on that candidly when we met. You're like, you've moved around a lot. But I think my explanation behind that is helpful for people to hear why I've moved around.
That's actually really good.
Ramble, and then you can interject. And
Let's do it.
so the story of Bethany. I started freshman year of college in 2010, was going to be a clinical lab science major, whatever that meant back then, I'm not really sure. Realized that 18-year-old me and 21 credits didn't really work out well and a full-time job. And so struggle busted my first year of college and finished college and was like, cool, learned nothing. Let's do a second semester. Went to apply for student loans for my second semester, and 18-year-old Bethany didn't have enough credit to get her own student loans. So I was like, well, I don't know what else I'll do. I guess I'll join the Navy. My brother joined the Navy, so I guess I can probably do that too. So showed up at the recruiter's office one day and said, yeah, my brother, I guess I'll join the Navy too. And the recruiter was like, okay, like right now? I'm like, yep, right now. Like, I'm going to sign papers right now. Like, I'm here. Like, let's go. And so he had me sit down and do a practice ASVAB, and I probably didn't do well, but well enough where he was like, all right, you're not stupid. Cool. Like, we can get the ball rolling. And I think within 30 days, I had all the medical paperwork and was like scheduled to go up to MEPS. I went to MEPS. 18-year-old Bethany didn't know left from right, up from down, didn't know what jobs there were. And so at MEPS, they said, here's the only job for you. It's this advanced electronic computer field. Good luck. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know what that means. 6 months later, I'm off to boot camp. Boot camp, fun, great, fantastic experience. I recommend everybody do it once in their life. I got selected to be an ET, didn't want to be an ET. I kind of think that like paints the picture of Bethany for my entire time in the military, as in I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to be an ET, apparently, out of boot camp and through A school, and had no background in electronics, knew nothing about electronics. And I remember this very vividly in C school. Someone said something about a hard drive in C school, and I was like, I don't know what that is. I'm like a country girl from Pennsylvania, and I shoot guns and hunt deer and like play sports. Like, I don't know what a hard drive is,
Yeah.
candidly. Quite a joke for everybody. They really appreciated that. But nonetheless, I spent 6 years on active duty as an ET on ships, pre-con the Ford. Great experience, great ship, great legacy that ship will leave, I think, for the Navy. But I had this idea and calling that I wanted to do something different in the military. The military wasn't like the grounding thing for me. I was interested in joining the FBI. While I was in college, my freshman year, I had switched to criminal justice. I was like, I think I want to be, an FBI agent. So I finished my undergrad while I was on active duty in hopes and preparation to go directly into the FBI when I got off active duty. Save that boring detail for another time, but that did not pan itself out. The FBI did not come calling, and I didn't end up going into the FBI. Went into like I would consider like a contracting role post active duty, doing similar things that I did as an ET, sort of teaching, training, doing technical installs, and then a little bit of like program management for the project that I was on. And then I was blessed. A friend of mine that worked at ADS called me up one day and said, hey, I don't know if you'd like working here, but we have this job and I think you'd be really good at it. And so I was like, I don't know. I don't like sales and I don't want to sell anything. And he was like, well, you're not going to sell anything. You're going to like be a program manager. I'm like, I don't know what that means. He's like, just come interview. I think they'll love you. Okay. So I go interview. They did, I think, love me. They offered me the job to be a program and capture manager at ADS. And so that was my step number one into coming into, I would consider this like sales industry. I give ADS all of the credit. They teach all of their employees everything you would ever need to know about defense sales ecosystem. They've got the full life cycle of sales folks there, the program managers, the capture managers, inside sales, outside sales, long programmatic strategic positions. And so yes, I will give all of the credit to like taught me everything I knew to, would say, leap into this industry. They teach you about the different contract mechanisms. They teach you who is who buys things, what an end customer is, who the end user is, and all of the variations in between. So it really was a really very fortunate that I got that opportunity.
Is it like a formal course they take you through, or is it kind of informal and there are just people there like holding your hand and
Um,
teaching you
they
along?
have wonderful training. ADS does a really fantastic job teaching you how to be the best person you can be in your capacity at ADS. So they teach the inside sales folks exactly what their jobs are. They teach the outside sales folks exactly what their job is. At least the years ago that I was there, some of the best training I've ever been through, because so many people had been there for so many years. So they've, they were experts. They were experts at how to be effective in the thing that ADS is really good at, which is ADS is a contract vehicle for as a small business for transactional sales for the government. It's a very simple way to surmise what ADS does. So started off as a program manager there and capture manager. So in that capacity, back end of sales, more like customer success, and then capture, obviously trying to find help, new opportunities. In amidst my time at ADS, we're called back to active duty, went and played Navy for a year, came back, transitioned into a business development role, supporting the Army. So now I got to be really customer facing and work with another teammate there, working directly one-on-one with the different customers. I supported Net Warrior back then and PDOC3T, which was an Army program. So that was my first exposure to customer has requirements. I am the person that can help then provide that solution to them. Covered some of their UAS portfolio, and then another opportunity came along. So I transitioned from ADS over to Class Government. Class Government is now a part of Anduril, but at the time, Class Government was a ruggedized edge compute company, and I was responsible for the Navy and the Marine Corps territory for them. Absorbed somewhat of a book of business, but then also had leeway to expand into other Navy and Marine Corps customers. So in that role, very different than being the contract, that was in this terminology, the OEM. So we were the person that sold the thing. We worked with, in this industry, the resellers to help extend our reach, resellers, value-added resellers, and then distributors as well. And then we did direct sales from class to the customer. So my area of responsibility was the Navy and Marine Corps. That was fantastic while it was fantastic. And then decided to change and do something different.
Hold on a second. Let's sit on. I want to sit on class for just a little bit. Talk to me
Yeah.
about like the problem you were solving for your customers. Like, what were you doing? Why did they love class when they did buy you guys?
Yeah.
What was that like? And then this is kind of your first, at least from ADS, role where you, I think you mentioned like this was your first customer facing role, or the tail end of your ADS time was your first customer facing role?
Yes, this is, I would say, truly Bethany was responsible for that one-on-one customer relationship at class, whereas at ADS, I was still sort of attached to a team. So myself and the other person that covered that territory, we kind of shared some of that responsibility. And I guess to backtrack, ADS is unique in that you maintain relationship with the customer, but you also maintain relationship with the suppliers, the OEMs, the people that sell the thing, because ADS doesn't sell anything. They're the contracting mechanism for that. So you kind of did two types of business development at ADS. So at class, at the time, there was really only one competitor to us in the market, which was Packstar, which is now owned by Curtiss-Wright. And so to be relevant to my customer base, I not only needed to understand what my product did, but I needed to understand very much what my competitor's product did if I was going to unseat the competitor or justify to the customer why they should continue to buy our thing. And at the time, it was a very, I think, small market. Edge computing was unique. We all delivered the same type of capability, but at class, we had some things that were different and unique to us. And then in contrast, Packstar, Curtiss-Wright had things that were different and unique to them. And so what made, I think,
Really quick,
us, yeah.
Super dumb definition of edge computing.
Oof, think of your like computer, like your network rack that's in a building somewhere in a small form factor, disconnected at the furthest point. I was going to use the word edge again, but
Yeah, like in a Humvee. You're
yes, in a vehicle,
Yeah.
on a person.
On a boat.
Some of our edge devices were like small enough that you could put them in a backpack. They've made edge devices now that are wearable. So it's taking these, what you would consider large on-prem infrastructure designs, and making them, reducing the swap, so the size, weight, and power of that, into a more rugged, more mobile configuration. And a lot goes into creating a truly edge device, but those two were the two companies that were doing it really well and doing it best, in my humble opinion.
I love it. And like, what are they using edge computing for out there?
Everything? No. You can do it from like true enterprise configuration. So you've got an entire battalion of people that need to have their computer infrastructure. You can take what you would have normally had, again, in your building or in a network rack, and you can reduce that down into something the size of a suitcase in various like virtual machines, or even just hardened compute infrastructure, and be able to support 300 plus individuals in a network disconnected. They also use it for what's considered a baseband solution. So for transport, it's the back end that does the traffic management for whatever transport mechanism that you're using. You can do edge solutions. And I guess today's day and age, people are trying to do like large language model processing at the edge. So taking compute that would typically require a lot of power, typically require a lot of space, and they're trying to do some of that compute infrastructure in really small mobile configuration, so that we can have some of these advanced AI like capabilities disconnected, air gapped at the edge.
Yeah. So this is kind of your first customer facing role. You're responsible solely. What were the hardest parts, and what did you learn like from this very first experience?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is understanding how to like hit quota attainment. It's one thing to be really passionate about the tech and be really proud that you have the best technology, but there's so much that goes into your now responsibility as an account manager. So I have a quota. I have to get to that quota. In most instances, if you don't maintain your quota, your longevity in that company is probably short. Not necessarily the case in all companies, but that's at the forefront of your mind. And so I know that at the end of the day, I have to hit a certain number by the end of the year, and sometimes even quarterly. So that always lives in the forefront of your mind. And that's a lot of pressure, because in the world of ADS, a lot of times your quota is relative to the history of that account. And so if the account did X amount of dollars last year, you get a 10% increase, assuming that you'll be able to attain that year over year. You don't get these astronomically large quotas or unattainable quotas. And in the OEM space, there's usually thought that goes into what your quota is, or there's some historics, and then there's sometimes you're owned by PE firms, and PE firms say you need to make X amount of money this year, and it gets divvied up, and you get this chunk and you get this chunk, and away you go. So that's like the pressure that comes from any sales, right? Anybody that has worked in sales will tell you, I know I have to achieve something. So that constant pressure button of like, I need to get closer and closer to my quota. It was never lack of trust, I think, in the technology. We had great technology. We did. There's nuanced things with every company that you work at, where somebody somewhere doesn't like the way that the thing does the thing that it does. But you trusted your engineers and that they would continue to deliver good technology. So in that instance and in that role, it was continuing to grow like my territory, new relationships, try to unseat the competition, which is very hard, and then convert some transactional business into programmatic business. That's like the golden ticket in OEM sales. Is we've got transactional customers that potentially buy things, but then when you win a program of record, now you're locked in. You're locked in for 5 years. It's typically large value, large volume purchase. And so that's, I think, the sweet spot in what I was working towards at my time there.
Okay, so we're at class, and then where do we go next?
You go to Falcom, comms headset company. So that was near and dear to me as an ET and as a communicator in the special warfare community, that I worked with Falcom at ADS. So they were one of my top suppliers, top partners when I worked at ADS. So I knew the team really well. I made the decision to move on from class. A friend of mine was running the government team. He said, come work here. You're great. You'll have fun. It'll be a great time. And so I went, and Falcom had a good technology. And at the time we were inching towards becoming a program of record in the Army, which again is the sweet spot for anybody selling into the government. We were able to identify not only our line in the budget, in the federal budget for procurement for us for that year, but we worked directly hand in hand with the entire team that essentially was going to do that procurement for that year. So for the amount of time that I was at Falcom, it was good. We had a lot of traction within the Army and within USASOC, essentially selling the value of this headset and the uniqueness of this headset, and then transitioned from there.
Then the other thing is, I notice a theme with you. You get jobs from friends a lot.
All of my jobs. And I think it's important for me to highlight that every job I've ever had, I've been referred to or connected to someone there. I've never gotten a job cold applying ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about me. As somebody that's been in recruiting, I think you and I had this conversation when we first met. When a recruiter looks at my resume and they don't know me at all, I do my best to capture all of the skills and things that I have. When you look at my resume, you see movement, you see transition. Between you and I've been very candid with you why I've left each company. And it goes back to my core value of people first, mission and people. And I've left every company because the people in the mission misaligned with my morals and values. And so I will take that to my grave. I believe it, deepest in my being, that once that I identify like something like that within an organization, that it very much contrasts my belief system, my morals and my values, I'm done. Wrong, right, and different, it's worked itself out, but I've never been in a position where I've not been able to find something else. So while it's not traditional, I say that to give encouragement to people that get told, oh, you moved around, or I've never been fired from any of these jobs. I've not moved around because I woke up someday and wasn't performing or wasn't able to do the job, or I was unsuccessful in the job. I woke up one day and was like, I'm sick to my stomach because of something or whatever. And I've got strong feelings and strong convictions. And so I think that's just made me be the agile person that I am in this industry.
And I'm thinking now of the audience, like they're probably wondering like, okay, that sounds awesome. Like I'd love to just get referred to jobs all the time. Like how do you do that? So are you intentionally building a network, or are you just a likable person and you just naturally talk to a lot of people? Or are you like intentionally thinking strategically, if I want to have like job security or have as many career options as possible, like I should be intentional about networking with people in this industry and this subsector and these types of people? Like, how do you approach it?
I wish I had that much forethought. I think I still believe this to my core, that because everything I do is with good intention and with this big heart and passion that I have, people see that in me. And so I never have to go back and explain to anyone why I've done something or where I've ended up or the decisions that I've made, because I show that in my character. I think I'm genuinely a likable person because I care about people. So if anybody's like, oh, I don't know if I'd be good at sales, I'm like, well, do you like people? Do you care about people? Are you passionate? That's what's unique about me. I think that that's like the skill set that I possess, is that I just deeply care about people and I deeply care about the technology that I'm delivering to customers. Those two things have made me marketable nearly everywhere. I have run into some sales organizations that are like, you're not a real seller. You don't have President's Club. You and I have talked about this. You don't have President's Club on your resume 15 times. Like, I don't think you'll cut it here. They're all right. And I probably don't want to work there, because I don't want to work somewhere that the only metric to success is President's Club achievement. I absolutely want to work somewhere where I feel purpose and value. And I think you can bring that full circle to veterans. Most veterans that I have met and worked with that transition into this industry, that get into a role that they don't feel purpose in, aren't going to stay happy there, or they won't feel happiness, they won't feel fulfillment. And so I've tried to align myself with some sense of purpose and good people to keep me similarly aligned to the sentiment and the way I felt in service. Money's great. I think making a lot of money in tech sales or SaaS sales is great. And I think it does well for some people transitioning out where they see a lot of money. This is great. Is it sustainable? I don't know. I would say, look at you, Andrew. Like, you did the SaaS sales world, you did the tech sales thing. And I would think we would both agree that your passion probably wasn't in that. Your passion is in helping people, finding people's purpose and translating people's purpose. And so while I think all of those experiences are good, and I do think there are subsets of people that will get out of the military and transition into that very transactional, salesy type of business, I think the majority of people want that continued purpose. And if you can't get that continued purpose professionally, then you got to find it somewhere else, whether it's in your family or hobbies or whatever.
Do you have like a formula or a system on like how to sniff out organizations that align with like mission, purpose?
I wish I did. I probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have as many jobs as I've had now. No, that's actually a great question. And maybe that's something I can refine now that I think a little bit more clearly. I think I've just had to learn through trial and tribulation. And then hopefully then I give advice to other people being like, I learned this here and I learned this here. And, I saw this situation here. But I think maybe that's something I could probably give back to the veteran community of here's all the things that I've learned over time on how to identify a good company. At the end of the day, though, I think everything is transient, right? I think you could, and I would say that about any role I took. All of the roles that I've taken so far been because of people, probably the people and then the tech. And then I would be like, okay, let me go tech first, people second. And then I get in this conundrum where I'm like, maybe none of those things should matter. Maybe it should be something else that matters as I decide to take on a job. And I think that's ever evolving for me as I've, again, transitioned in and out of roles more times than most people do since leaving active duty. But I believe it all is a good thing. It's all a learning experience, even if it's stressful, even if it's frustrating, even if it's, sad in some capacity. I think that all of the things that I've learned, all the companies that I've been at, I've taken something of value out of that. And so maybe the best suggestion is like follow your gut. If your gut tells you like something smells fishy, it probably is fishy, right? That's probably the best advice I can give someone. And if you have the freedom of movement, I've been blessed and fortunate enough that I've been able to take risks and move and go and try something different. Not everybody is that fortunate where they either their family dynamic, financially, what have you, they're not set up to say, you know what, I'm not going to work here anymore and I'm going to just take some time off and figure something else out. I've been fortunate that I've been able to do that.
I just want to pull this thread a little bit more on like you getting jobs from people that reach out to you, that know you, that trust you. Try to be as objective as possible. What do they love about you? Like, what is it about Bethany that attracts employers? And let's divide this up into maybe two categories. Like, one is like hard skills, like I'm good at like discovery questions, or I'm good at sales, I'm good at understanding the customer. And then the other is like your character, or maybe your ethics, your morals. What are the things that, in your opinion, typically drive people to say, like, we want Bethany on the team? The purpose of this question is so people that are listening understand these are some of the things that are desirable, and these are what people actually look for when they're looking for talent or looking to hire people.
Yeah, I think problem solving is the number one skill that a person coming into sales can have because it's simple enough that it applies to many different things. But if someone identifies in you that you're very driven and determined to solve a problem, it doesn't matter what problem it is they put in front of you. So the customer's problem, a company problem, a technology problem, like to me, everything is some variation of problem and I'm going to solve it. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to improve it. I'm going to make it better. And so I would say that people see that in me, whether it's through immense determination, in my lack of desire to quit, being very overly passionate about something in particular with technology, meaning like this tech must do this in this way or someone will die, like whatever formula it exasperates itself in. But I think that if you're a problem solver and your brain constantly thinks in the sense of solving problems, you will be extremely successful in this industry. You'll just continue to progress and move forward unless you, like me, hit a brick wall and find a problem you can't solve, and then you go find new problems to solve.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Okay, what else?
I would say on the soft skills side of things, it goes back to my passion for everything, which I think exasperates in different forms. I'm really passionate about service members and the safety and security and the things that they have, right? So that directly translates into, I will not sell you garbage technology. I just won't. I will not sell you something that I know doesn't solve a customer problem because ET3 didn't want to have that thing at some point in time. And so I'm constantly thinking about the person that's going to end up with that thing in their hand. So that level of passion people see in me, because I speak about it all the time. Anytime I interview for a tech related position, I always double down on like, where do you stand with your tech? What does the customer think about your technology? Have you gotten end user feedback on this? The last thing I want to do is sell somebody another widget or another thing that they don't need that makes their job harder, potentially makes their life in danger. So I think that, and then I think I'm genuinely likable and friendly. I think that's something you can learn too. I don't know if everybody wakes up and it just feels comfortable talking to people. I like to talk to people. And so it's been easy for me to relate and connect with people just because that's how I've been since I was a kid. And so if you're somebody that doesn't feel as comfortable talking to people, you may not be able to follow in like my footsteps and say like, oh, I'm not getting all these referrals. And it's just because I force myself on people and I just am like, you will be my friend and you will like me and we are going to have a friendship now. I think, I don't know, the easiest way to say is I work really hard for everybody that I work with. People see that and they want that. They see loyalty in me, they see passion in me, and they see a really big heart. And so as an, if I were CEO for the day, of course I want 100 Bethanies. It's a lot of work to deal with 100 Bethanies. I'm certain of that, but you're going to get good results out of 100 Bethanies. And it speaks for itself. I have never had an issue and I care very much about my reputation. I try not to burn bridges. I care very much that I'm likable, and that's a nuanced thing, I think, for people in this industry. I think most people in sales want to be likable, but there's an interesting dynamic there of, am I likable or am I successful? Maybe one of those two supersedes the other, because I know plenty of really successful salespeople that are not likable, but they're really good at selling things. I'd like to be good at selling things, but likable. I think it is, for me and my success and my future and where I see myself going, I would rather go to my grave knowing that I was well liked, successful, than I hit President's Club 15 times in my lifetime.
Yeah. There's so much there I want to unpack. I'm sensing there's another theme. I love this conversation, by the way.
Yeah, good.
There is this mindset that you have as like this foundation, and you haven't directly mentioned it, but I can tell that you've developed perspective, a worldview, a mindset, a philosophy that has served you well. And the best way I can put it is like you have this dogged pursuit of excellence, like this relentless desire to like, whatever I do, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I'm also going to do my best to help others along the way and bring people with me and be a team player. I will sacrifice myself to help others in pursuit of excellence because others are more important than the end goal. So I'm just curious, am I on target there?
Absolutely. That's Bethany in a nutshell.
Where did that come from? And can you develop that? Like, is that someone, like someone listening to this is like,
childhood trauma, Andrew. I'm gonna put that on the internet. But that's, I think, like, if you were having like a serious, like, philosophical question about Bethany, I think that as a child, I was unfortunately a very isolated child and was raised around very, very strict parents that didn't provide like this love and support. And so as a kid, I like wanted to then give that to everybody. If you asked my teachers growing up, Bethany always wanted to help. Bethany wanted to be involved. She wanted to mother and take care of everybody. So I have developed this like character trait, I suppose, since I was a young kid, I think because of the lack of whatever I didn't get as a child. So I do think there is some psychology to what makes successful sellers. And some of those things are probably negative attributes from childhood. But I think it's a superpower. Like, I say this to people when I have like people being like, how do you be the way you are? I'm like, well, I had to have some adversity along the way, but I've understood that. I'm very introspective on like these character traits that I have. And I use that to my advantage. I am very, very, very like sincere when I say that people mean the world to me. And you can't teach someone that, right? I can't teach every seller to like love people the way that I love people. But the people that do have that, be really great at this job. Be really, really fantastic at helping people solve problems simply.
That's really interesting. There's a book that this reminds me of. I forget exactly what it's called. It's something around like how to measure your life, I think. It's by a Harvard business professor, Dr. Christensen, I think is his name. Anyways, they did this like really long study, Harvard did, on people, and it's like a 70 or 80 year study, and they just checked in with people from like when they graduated high school all the way through like to death, and we're checking in with them. I forget the periodicity, it was maybe every year, every 5 years, and just asking like, how are you, how's life, are you happy, describe to me your relationships, your work, what, so on and so forth. And the goal is, over time, they were trying to figure out like what makes a good life by the person's own definition.
Sure.
And what he came up with at the very end was like the evidence, the data suggests that the people that were most happy at the end of their life had relationships with other people. They didn't have
Absolutely.
money. They didn't
Absolutely.
have like stature. They just had really close friends.
Yeah, the history would tell you that that's exactly why humans were designed, whether you're a person of faith or not. Like history tells you that communities are much more successful than people that live in isolation. How many
Uh,
people do we know that have survived a long time in isolation and come out well? They don't. So I absolutely believe that relationships are the foundation to success and health, and healthy relationships and how you cultivate relationships determines, I think, your entire path of life.
I think also like it can contribute to take it back to business stuff to being good at your job in sales. Like those that value their customer in such a way where you're like, no, I actually care about you.
Yes,
This is more than a sale. Like I want you to succeed.
absolutely.
People have, I call it an authentimeter. They can tell when someone's being authentic,
Yes,
genuine.
it is stressful. It's hard to care about every single customer that you have, but man, is it powerful when they realize that you do. That's why people remember me. I maintain these relationships because when they know when I show up, it's like, she cares. She really cares about what we're doing here and wanting to help us. And that's, I think, what makes you successful, regardless of the paycheck at the end of the day.